Hi, my friend. Happy Saturday. I'm Pat Sloan for my daily video where I have a topic for the day and some other things, catch up on what's going on. So the topic for today is part 2 of our organization for September. 2 of 8. I'll have 8 of these. All right, so this is, you've been doing good. I've seen photos of you working on your project bins. Those are things that you have a project in progress or something that you started a while ago, then you put it back in its bin or its tote bag or wherever. So you were getting those cleaned up. And I'm going to talk about my mission organization here in a moment. So today, number 2 is to find a fabric area, whether you call it a bin, whether you call it a stack, whether you call it a pile on the floor or a pile on the end of your ironing board, whatever. Find that group of fabric that needs to be cleaned up, resorted, put away, whatever the status is. Find fabric that is not where it should be. And that 1% of you who watch, who are totally organized 99% of the time, go organize something else or sew today. So what's a bin? For me, these are the bins. I have project bins like those ones up on the shelves up there. I'm sorry, we're doing fabric bins. So that's where my fabric is. Those are by color. So there's a white, a red, there's a black, and I have fabric bins on the back side of my koala table. This is my koala table, and under that back side there's fabric bins, and I have some over on the stand where the projects were. Next to that on the bookshelf, there's some there. And I do have some fabric out in the long-term storage area, better known as the dining room, which has some big industrial shelving in there that has heavy carts, like all my solids are out there. So part of my Sloan Central mission organization for the next few days, part of that was getting fabric put away. Remember yesterday I showed you that table that was covered with fabric? Well, that had to go in these bins because it was different fabric things that I had popped into these dump zones, and I had to get them out, put them by color, and put them away. And so that's your task for the next few days, is get any of those random stacks of fabric. Do you still have some in your car from a trip or something that came in the mail that you didn't get put away? So get that done. Okay, and if you're wondering how to see all of the topics, here is my calendar, and a link below every time, so you can get that. And if you can't find the link, look for the little down arrows, because if you're on an app, often they hide all the controls, and so look around under the video, and usually to the far right it might be some arrows, and drop those down, and then you'll pop open all of the links that I'm always telling you I have. All right, so this organization for me, I figured you might wonder what I am doing with some of this stuff that I was taking away. So basically what I'm doing is taking things that have come in, fabrics or things that may have showed you, older projects that didn't get put away, like the fabrics used for them, like childhood games, the fabrics used for that, I needed to put it back in color and put in the different bins, and then put the quilt top over with all the other quilt tops that will eventually get quilted one day. And then there are some things that I am sort of going to move out of my house and out into, maybe I have 2 different organizations that can take fabric and they can resell it, which benefits charity. Sometimes I let my friends go through it first. With the pandemic, it's a little bit problematic, but that's why I decided I just had to start. I can't just keep waiting until there's a better time. Now was the time I needed it done, because it was cluttering my brain. So those stacks are all like getting into bags, and they'll have to go in boxes, and I'll have to figure out how to get rid of them and so they're stacked up in my dining room. That table now is back away. I'm using my ironing board for the holding pattern. Like these 2 bins right now are empty. So I need to figure out what current projects am I working on that need to be where I'm working, and those will go in those bins. Okay, so like my rolling carts, they have projects in it right now. Like I have cross stitch down here, and these 2 are the Snowflake Shelf. So the Snowflake, which is this week, which starts on what, on the 8th, is that right? Look on the, yes, Yes, the snowflake starts on the 8th, which I believe is Tuesday. And so I'll show you one of my blocks. I've gotten, this will be the first blocks that we do for the week, so that if you started the jelly snowflake last time in July and didn't get it done or didn't get very far, you can pop right back in. If you couldn't make it then, you can do it now. I also have my first jelly snowflake that my friend Sue, whoops, it's heavy. Can't hold these. So my friend Sue made this one, and I showed you the individual pictures as we went along. So this one's more scrappy. The one I'm going to do starting on the 8th, well, I'll be showing you, is a little bit more, is tighter in fabric, colors, reds, pinks, probably some green. And what I did is, while I was searching, while I was getting rid of these bins and emptying them and getting old stuff out, I found the extra strips from this that didn't get used. I'm like, good I was doing this, because I kept thinking to myself, well, where's the fabric to do the binding? So I pulled all the reds that came from this jelly roll, and that will be what I use for the binding on this guy. So when Cindy quilted it for me, she also trimmed it, so I'm hoping that I can just put it on there. I'm going to use a little bit wider binding on there, because I don't want to cut these down, so I'll do a double binding. I often do a single binding just because if they're wall hangings and things, it doesn't matter, and on the machine it's a little easier with a single binding. So, but I'll do a double binding on this one, and I think that will look really nice. So, okay, the other thing we have for September is the Orfil spools. Okay, so this is the last one I have made. So cute. See, it's like a little sweater fabric with little, looks like a knitted sweater, right, with the little hearts. I got this several years ago. It was a Valentine fabric, I think from Sandy Gervais in one of her Valentine lines. And I still have a little bit left of it. So I need to cut and sew up more spools. This is the last of the little first grouping that I did, so we'll see how that goes, because I have some other projects like the jelly snowflake that have to be done. But I'm going to try to do, at least 5 a week, something like that. I think that would be good. Okay, what else do we have coming up besides the jelly snowflake? We have in September two other things starting in September. One will be the layer cake sew along. And I'm using Halloween, fall, it was actually more fall-like with a little bit of Halloween in there. And I put the project page up for that, and you'll be able to go over and with the link below to the project page and see that. You can use any layer cake. We're using the Perfect 10 book. Later in the month, we also have the Socialite, and it's going to be, I'm going to sew with my Morrison Park fabric. And then also at the end of the month of September will be the sew along, the tour, the fabric tour. My friends who sewed with the Morrison Park will be sharing their projects with my fabric line, and that'll be at the end of this month. So like it starts the last 2 days of the month and then goes into October. So that is the stuff that's coming up, and it's on your calendar, but I wanted to remind you because it's easier to like hear it. Right? Okay, so had 2 questions I wanted to answer. One is that a couple of our friends asked me, they're like, oh, well, does Greg come home from work early to help you now and stuff like that? Well, Greg and I have worked together for this business that we do for over 20 years. So when he goes to work, he goes to his office here in the house, and I go to my office here in the house. So Greg and I work together, so he doesn't work anywhere else for the last 20 years. This has been our full-time business. That's our only source of income, is this. So this is what we do. So yes, he's available. He doesn't have to ask his boss or anything to get off. That's okay. The other question that I thought was really interesting was from Cheryl. Cheryl says, what inspires you, she says, to write your patterns? And I thought, well, that's a really neat question, because pattern writing, has a lot of, writing a pattern is not like writing a novel, which, you know, you make one and it takes you several years maybe, or 6 months or 9 months to write it, or even, you know, like writing a quilt book. Writing single patterns are way more production oriented. They generally have themes, they serve a purpose. It's a business thing. It's like, I'm not just writing patterns for fun, you know, just like, hey, I'm gonna do this as a leisure thing. No, it's it's a lot of work, and they have to be edited, they have to be right, you know, all that. But the inspiration behind them can vary. One, I like to do things that are something the community here, all of you, would like to sew. So there's criteria. I can't always do just what I'd like to do because I am a bit quirky and I like sort of unusual quilts, and they're not the kind of things that appeal to the masses or that appeal to a large percentage of people. If I had my way, I'd probably do funky little folk art things in applique all the time, which is how I started my business, which was pretty much in a very folk art applique style. And there's only a small group of people who like to sew that kind of stuff. You know who you are. And over time I found that, you know, the community and the people that I went to teach and that I write my books for, it's just more of a patchwork world. So I do a lot of patchwork, and I create the themes because that makes it more interesting. It gives us a reason to sew together when we do our sew-alongs. Sometimes I have a goal, such as the Oh My Stars and the traffic jam, is that I wanted simple things that could use up either like a charm pack, which was the Oh My Stars, or like a 2.5 inch square, which was a traffic jam. So they have goals, like sub goals for what I'm creating. And occasionally I have an idea that pops up, like I think, oh, you know, like you see, I see something in my head, sort of a design, and I'll go and sketch it out. So, you know, and then that might be a pattern for a fabric line, or it might be a pattern that goes in the book. Right now, my single patterns that I publish tend to be the books. But in the past, I used to do lots of single patterns. You know, every year I probably produced, it was, you know, back in the day when I started the business, you produced a lot of single patterns because that was just the way things were done. And you bought them in stores. But the world has changed a whole lot. There's a lot more on the internet, and you do a lot more digital. And I really like doing the free things, which is, I can do those because of all the support that you give me, so I can do those. And the themes are what hold it all together. So I don't know, that was a really long answer and probably didn't make any sense. Let me know if it made sense. If you have a follow-up to that, ask me. I'll get it together. Okay, I told you I'd show you the other quotes on the panel that came with my Going on the Picnic fabric. Goldenrod actually had a panel as part of that fabric line that I had totally forgotten. And the William Morris saying I showed you yesterday on the video. But here are the other sayings. Each one is different. So this is from Walt Whitman. Keep your face towards the sunshine. The shadows will fall behind you. See, aren't these beautiful? They are so beautiful. The third one is, it is the sweet, simple things of life which are the real ones after all. Laura Ingalls Wilder. And, ta-da-da, after midnight the moon set and I was alone with the stars. Amelia Earhart. So I love Amelia Earhart. What an amazing woman she was. And, you know, she did incredible things. Beautiful, beautiful quotes. All right, my friend. We are on a roll here. It's Saturday. I still want to work a bit more on my stuff, and then I'll give that mission organization will be closed. It's only a couple day mission for this one. So I love you, and I'll see you online.